Good morning from paradise. My name is Crypto Amaru. We got Crypto Hitman in the house. We are pleased to have the CEO of a new AI project, Kvants, here with us today for a project spotlight, a founder interview, as it were. We're going to cover the ins and outs of the project, the token utility, some of the roadmap stuff, the launch plans, and of course, we always end with some fun questions as well. So, why don't we kick it off? Can you just introduce yourself real quick, your background in the space, and then we can get into the specifics on the project?
For sure. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, especially, to dive into sort of the recent trend of AI agents on this sort of a lengthier video we are doing. Sort of just to get into, I would say, the way in which I got into crypto. It's in 2016, I was really introduced to distributed ledger technologies and, to the sort of concept of blockchain by quite a few of my technical friends. Back then I started to research a lot of the white papers, and that was around the time when Ethereum was getting really popular. So that's where I sort of made my first crypto investments. However, at that time I was still finishing up my master's degree, then working in sort of having my own marketing agency in London, in the UK for quite a few years after that. But, during, I would say 2017, 18, and 19, I was always keeping my finger on the pulse of where the sort of general crypto industry was headed. And, when sort of 2019, 2020 came around, I saw sort of the increase of DeFi adoption really coming into the picture, right? So what I started to do is effectively deploy a lot of sort of my dormant ETH into yield farming protocols, which really interested me. I started to look for alternative sort of sources of passive revenue, which I could generate on top of my ETH. And, that is where I really got this sort of an introduction to alternative yields within crypto, right? So not just staking, not just sort of basic yield farming, but perhaps, running sort of alternative quant trading strategies on top of my portfolio. However, I didn't sort of dive into quant straight away in 2019, 2020. I actually started my own VC firm, which I have deployed within to sort of 35 portfolio companies ever since, and I was providing them marketing advisory. And along the way, we built up a very good working relationship with Bybit, where we sort of helped a few of their IEO projects do the pre-TG and TG marketing. And Bybit have actually introduced us to quite a few quantitative hedge funds, which were at that time trading on their platform. And this was actually in a perfect timing of sort of April 2022 when the market was starting to turn a little bit sour. So we started to allocate into market neutral strategies because, of course, we sort of multiplied the portfolio through the VC investments, which we provided strategic advisory to on the marketing front as well. So what we did is actually took a market neutral approach through quant trading strategies, very much on the market rate, market neutral for the funding rate arbitrage, cross exchange arbitrage as well. A little bit of mean reversion strategies, momentum, and those were all sort of really beneficial and really profitable to our portfolio, sort of during the bear market of 2022, I would say the second half of 2022. And then into 2023, as volatility really returned, they were really thriving. And, it's really came to the picture that, all right, so this is a solution that is only available to the top 1% of capital allocators, only to institutional grade hedge funds. And that is when we got the idea with my co-founder to really launch Kvants and to sort of take it from the ground up to offer this type of investment strategies to the regular investors as well, not just reserve it for the elite. So that's, I would say, my background and how my background has sort of translated to where we are at now with Kvants and what we are developing.
Yeah, man, I love that. Anytime you can bring something that's been reserved for the elites, the high net worth individuals, and democratize that, that's what crypto is all about, right? Fundamentally, I think, anyway. And having taken a look at your platform, seeing the historical performance of your strategies, the quant strategies, the proof is in the pudding. This is not we promise the world and don't deliver everything. A lot's already been delivered. So I want people to do their due diligence, check out the platform. You can see the various pools, strategies that are available to investors as we speak right here today. So great work. I know you've been working on this for a long time. You have a great background in the industry as well in crypto. So yeah, excited to have you on. Nick, I don't know if you had any initial thoughts as well to his
Yeah,
intro, but
yeah,
very impressed.
I was gonna sum it up and say Kvants is essentially a AI powered management platform in which the average Joe can start by putting their portfolio in various strategies, and you utilize AI and these other proven strategies they've done in both the bear and bull market to get the most out of your kind of dormant portfolio or the portfolio that you're not really being degenerates with or trading with or whatever, and get it active for you, get it earning. As we do know, you want to take advantage of the best times in the market for crypto, but even in the bear cycles, if you have this AI management tool here, it does seem like there is possibility to continue to earn passive income and make some gains in the bear market, where for most humans it is too emotional and too hard to do so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great.
that's a very good point you mentioned there because you mentioned the bear market and sort of how a lot of the active trading strategies are not really beneficial or profitable in the bear market. That's where you have one thing that is prominent, that is volatility, right? You have majority of the time lower volumes, which means that every single price action is really amplified, right? So in that type of environment, the momentum strategy, market neutral momentum strategy can work very well. And that's one of the types of strategies that the traders that we verified and sort of trialed and tested, we onboarded, one of those momentum strategies on our platform, alongside all the others that we have currently standing at 17.
Yeah, so talk to me about the platform specifically. How does it work, right? You have these various vaults, these strategies you can sort of invest into for fixed periods of time, and then some sort of trading goes on in the background. Explain us how it works.
Absolutely. So on the surface level, we are providing a fully decentralized autonomous investment platform, which is offering access to the strategies through quant vaults. We refer to the quant vaults as dedicated funding pools for particular strategies, where a investor can select which type of a risk appetite of a strategy they want to invest into, and what directionality that strategy should be taking. So as of now, we do have three main directionalities. First one of them being market neutral, which basically stands for delta neutral, that the price of the underlying assets is not really reflected in the user's portfolio growth. It is only the volatility that is captured as a result of the price movements. So basically, we are aiming to capture as much I would say, volatility as possible with a market neutral approach. So that can be either market neutral strategies like funding rate arbitrage, which is basically harnessing the funding rate on top of exchanges. So this type of a strategy works very well in periods of, let's say, upward price action and larger volumes where, there is a net delta of buyers in the market. However, if we perhaps have a sort of a lower convexity event, which is, let's say, like the collapse of Terra Luna, perhaps FTX, where we have a large downside or sorry, a large movement to the downside, during those times we can really sort of get into, I would say, the momentum strategy, which is trading the momentum in a market neutral manner. That means that during that period it would have been shorting the market.
Okay, so we got the understanding. I'm looking here. You got market neutral, you got funding rate arbitrage, directional smart long, and even meme coin rate arbitrages. So people can put their money into any of these vaults. You can read more about it on the website. What is the security protocol for that? Because I'm assuming they need to deposit those assets into these vaults. It's not like you're reading their wallet because you guys need to put those funds to work. So what's the kind of security protocol around quants compared to either a self custody or maybe the low APR staking solutions that Coinbase has, for example?
Yes, absolutely. So with the crypto funding vaults or with the quant funding vaults that we have available on our platform, the way in which it works that we have a subscription window, which is usually 7 days. It fills out much in a much quicker manner than that majority of the time. For each of the individual strategies, once the vault is filled up, the vault gets automatically forwarded to our custodian's account. So we are currently integrated with Sifu and Zodia Custody on the custodian solution, which is enabling us a very good technological suite of products. Because by having a custodian, what we can effectively do is have a sort of a decentralized governance over the funds. So the funds are within the custodian's wallet, and it's a tri-sig wallet. So basically, it's us, the custodian, and a third-party auditor, that is sort of having control over, I would say, the general consensus of that wallet. And the accounts and the assets within that particular wallet are being mirrored on top of a centralized exchange. So even though we are able to harness the volume, the liquidity, and the market efficiency of a centralized exchange, we are actually sort of relaying zero dollars on top of a centralized exchange, which, we have seen centralized exchanges perhaps turn shady in the past. But, by having this approach, we are really able to diminish the counterparty risk for the end investor. So everything is really much coded into the smart contract. So let's say that perhaps we make a 20% upside. So what will happen is that the centralized exchange will automatically rebalance our custodian's balance. So every single day in every 24-hour window, the balance on the funding vault, which is held with the custodian, is being actively rebalanced. So if there's a 20% increase, that means that perhaps on a 100K vault, there is $120,000, which is now in the DeFi vault on top of the chain, on chain. So you can actually track it and actually see the real-time performance as it's being recollateralized every 24 hours. Even though it is every 24 hours on the platform, you can actually see the intraday, minute by minute performance of the strategies. So since we are, of course, providing as much transparency to the underlying strategies as possible, you can actually track the hourly performance of each of the strategies on the platform itself. And then if you are really wanting to verify the performance, how it's being sort of recredited back to the custodian vault, you can go on chain and actually track it on chain.
Nice. So we got the platform covered, we got the security covered. Now let's talk about the fees. And of course, that is what's going to tie us all to what people really care about, which is the Kvants token. And I'll let Ian ask questions on that. But what are the fees and costs associated with using your product? Obviously, you guys seem to be having great returns on some of these strategies, but how much of that do the customers actually get to keep? And how does Kvants as a business make money here?
Absolutely. So for us, the biggest profit generating mechanism is from the revenue, right? So when it comes to performance fee, that is where 95% of our revenue is coming from. And we utilize, a big portion of that revenue for active token buybacks. So we have a positive flywheel effect along the way. So the first point of entry for an investor is, of course, that they connect their wallet to our exchange. Sorry, not to our exchange, to our platform. And then they select which funding pool they want to allocate into. Once they select the funding pool, of course, they are required to stake a KWI tier. The KWI tiers, they are ranging from the starter tier all the way up to the professional tier, which is really determining how much capital the users can allocate. And with that said, once the user selects a KWI tier, they stake the KWI tier, then they are able to allocate into the trading strategies. On the trading strategy level, there is usually a 3 to 6 month lockup. However, since all of the strategies are fully tokenized, the users can actually sell their share within that strategy to a secondary investor through the open market, which is having liquidity on top of Uniswap. So that also allows for, I would say, speculation to arise, because we might trade at a premium to the actual NAV, the net asset value of the particular fund, or at a time of, let's say, market volatility, as we have seen on January 8th and up to January 13th. There has been sort of a negative sentiment, right? During which time perhaps the share price of each quant vault might actually drop below the NAV. However, we as sort of finance background professionals know that if a fund's share drops below the actual fair NAV, that's a very good bargaining opportunity. So we provide early liquidity to the investors who want to exit, but then there's also a arbitrage opportunity to the people who sort of want to hold the fund to maturity.
I think you're muted, Crypto Amaru.
Apologies for that. Yes. So I was just say you have the flexibility built in for the users, which is fantastic. You have the custody set up with well-known custody providers. You got the third-party auditor. So I think everything is clear as to the product. The token utility you touched on briefly, it sounds like it's twofold, right? From the end user standpoint, you need to essentially stake the token or hold the token in order to enter into these vaults. And then from a project standpoint or business standpoint, you're taking some of your revenue using for buybacks. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So we do have a performance fee in place that is set at 20%, which is allowing the user to effectively keep 80% of their profits that were generated, which are then redistributed back to the token vault holders. And the 20% is being utilized for active token buybacks, where we purchase the tokens with a randomizer, of course, to determine which amount of tokens is purchased back. And then we sort of add them back into the liquidity pool on top of Uniswap. So not just are we sort of taking out the tokens from the general total supply, but we are also adding them back as liquidity, of course, improving the entire KWI ecosystem.
Yeah, I want to touch on that 20% because there's two points to make clear there. One, that's 20% on the profits that your platform has generated for the end user. So it's 20% on the profits, not the
Of course.
deposited amount. Secondly,
No.
that 20%, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that's industry standard within the hedge fund world. And this is essentially a DeFi, decentralized, AI-driven hedge fund for the masses. So I think it's 20% is the standard. I could be wrong, but
Yeah,
um,
so actually the standard is a 2% management fee and a 20% performance fee. In crypto, it's sometimes even higher than that. You see funds, that are pushing, let's say, 0.50, but they are market makers most of the time. We have a couple other funds, that are doing 0.30, and we are actually doing 0.20. So, when it comes to access to these types of strategies, that really is, I would say, at the forefront of being one of the most capitally effective strategies out there. And of course, we are able to provide sort of this discount because of the fact that there's already a sort of a gated access to these strategies by having a requirement to stake the quiet tier, right? So this really enables us to make it a very cost-effective environment for managing your portfolio.
that makes a lot of sense. And appreciate the discount you give to the end users relative to the competition. That's smart. All right, we've talked a lot about the platform. My understanding is that AI is sort of embedded into your project in a number of different ways. One, through the quantitative trading strategies themselves, I believe they leverage AI. But secondly, on the AI agent side, which we haven't yet touched on. So talk to us about AI agents and what are they doing within your product and platform?
Yes, absolutely. So Kvants is the first AI-governed quantitative hedge fund. What that effectively means is that we replace a lot of the roles which are taken up by traditional quantitative analysts at traditional quant funds, and we actually replace them fully by a AI agent workforce. So we do have 6 levels of AI agents incorporated into our fund vaults right now. We have the risk management agent, which is actively sort of running 24-hour, 24/7, 365, and I would say even millisecond by millisecond volumetric surveillance of all the data sets and all the trading execution that is happening within the trading level. We have a performance optimization agent, which is responsible for selecting the best exchange and venue to trade on, and also the best universe of tokens to trade on. So the universe of tokens refers to the basket of tokens with the highest liquidity and the sort of biggest upside. So the performance optimization agent is selecting between those, and it's also selecting between numerous types of strategies in a particular environment. Because let's say that you have a environment where you have very high funding rates, however, you have a low volatility, which is usually not a sort of a market standard, but let's say we actually did see that type of a market environment from mid-March of 2024 until early April 2024, where the price was really, so I would say, hovering around the all-time high for Bitcoin, and the funding rates were high. However, there wasn't a lot of volatility. So during this period, for let's say this 1 month window, the most profitable strategy would be the funding rate arbitrage strategy. However, after let's say April 11th, we had the unfortunate news of conflicts, etc. And during this time, actually, the most beneficial strategy would have been the momentum strategy, especially the market neutral one. So our agents, they're really able to determine what type of a market environment we are in. They're able to select the best strategy to harness as much returns from a particular market environment. And it's really sort of I would say a combination of all the agents intertwined together using our proprietary correlation system to create the best trading outcomes for the end user. So it's very much on the portfolio maximization and optimization level. And, because until now, all the AI agents that you have seen, AI XBT, a couple others as well, I would say a lot of others, they have been focusing on the actual information level, right? So they have been providing sort of digested information and sort of compile the information to the end user. However, at Kvants, what we are really able to do is to take a lot of alternative data sets, volumetric data sets, etc., and feed them into our AI agents to be able to produce a sort of a trading execution for the end user, right? So on the back end of Kvants, we have a sort of a selection of multi-strategy algorithms from either our in-house quantitative team based in Shanghai or either from our sort of partner proprietary trading firms, right? So when it comes to the actual trading strategy, You can think of the AI agents as sort of a mid layer for selecting which trading strategy is the most appropriate for which market environment. And then the trading strategy itself is actually being developed by former Goldman Sachs executives, former, let's say, Citadel traders, etc., right? That we do actually have in our roster of strategies. And it's actively rebalancing in between these strategies that are I would say, managed by the AI agent, right? So the rebalancing is being done by the AI agent. This is something we haven't seen yet, in the industry, right? Because until now, the AI agents have been utilized only for, I would say, 2D information sharing, where it perhaps shares a market update about, let's say, Dogecoin or Pepe, or any other particular meme coin regarding volume, regarding on-chain metrics, etc. However, there is a very big noise amount or I would say noise level, when it comes to these sort of outputs that a lot of these agents are producing. Because for you as an individual, you only have 24 hours in a day. Out of that, perhaps you have 18, right? And you are not on the computer 24/7. You really cannot take, I would say, action on all of these insights that the AI agent is producing. However, with Kvants, we take that hard work sort of and optimize it so you can actually just invest into a quant vault and the AI agent is sort of, I would say, automatically selecting the best optimal strategy for the given market environment. And then, sort of you can leave the rest to the actual experienced trading house.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that Kvants is a project that is actually utilizing AI and taking AI agents to a next level. Obviously, we know AI agents is pretty hot right now as far as the sector is concerned for crypto assets, and it seems like you guys are taking the utilization of that to the next tier. So, with that, let's sum up, I guess, by talking about the remaining details around the token. When do you plan on the token launch? How can people get involved with the token raise? What are any details that is public on the side of Kvants, which I think is going to be KVAI ticker symbol.
Yes, that is correct. So the KWI token is going to be the primary utility token for the entire ecosystem when it comes to the fund subscription tiers, when it comes to the DAO governance, spun that around there. And the token is now available, of course, on the Crypto Paradise pre-sale, which is being held within your community right now. We also have a few opportunities hosted with our partners that will be sort of arising in the next 2 to 3 weeks as we head into TGE. And the TGE is really scheduled in to be after the Chinese New Year, once everybody is back at their desk and sort of ready to trade the good coins. So that is, I would say, one of the strategic directions for KWI. And another one that I want to mention is actually the comparison of the potential of KWI to, some of the big industry players, right? So the actual only big competitor, or I wouldn't even want to refer to it as a competitor, but a token worth mentioning here is Athena, because Athena has around a $3 billion market cap. And when you look at it, they have successfully tokenized the funding rate arbitrage or the basis trade and really developed a good stable coin around it, which offers a yield based on I would say, a very low risk trade, because if you hedge it properly at the funding rate arbitrage, there is very minimal drawdowns, if any at all. And with Kvants, this is basically what we are anticipating to create. However, we just want to simplify it for the user that they don't even need to hold a stable coin. What they can do is just allocate USDT or USDC into a funding vault that automatically trades a underlying strategy very similar or even more profitable to the funding rate arb strategy. So, this is, I would say, really a revolutionary breaking point, merging the centralized finance with AI, and that's what really makes Kvants one of the pioneers in the centralized finance AI, DeF AI, as is the new buzzword ever since 2025 came about.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Athena because if you look at the sort of perspective upside, and of course, nothing on this channel is ever financial advice, but if you look at the perspective upside of Kvants at, I believe, launching at a 12 million FTV, if I'm not mistaken, versus
15 million, 15 million.
15 million. My apologies. Regardless, it's low. And the initial market cap, I think, is our $400,000-$500,000 initial market cap, I believe.
Yes, that is correct.
You look at the products that has been built, the many thousands of users that are already having been onboarded, the fact that there will be utility up for the token on day one as people will need to utilize the token to enter into the vaults, not to mention the buybacks that will be going on. I believe you're launching on Seedify and a few other high quality launch pads. And I believe, I don't know if we can say the centralized exchanges have been confirmed yet, but to me, a lot has been lined up as you guys have built over the past few years to really compete with the likes of Athena. And I don't know if you'll ever hit those sort of market caps, but even if you get to a fraction of that, it'll be a huge win for everyone who's found out about it early, as the folks here have. So glad you mentioned that. Can you touch on the centralized exchange aspect at all, or anything else related to the launch?
Absolutely. So, just to sort of expand on your point there, Amaru, as you mentioned, with Athena, it's very much just one trade that is producing all the yield for the users, right? However, with Kvants, we enable the users to basically select which type of a strategy they want to deploy their capital into. So you can think about it as sort of a additional value on top of a sort of a very established trading ecosystem that we are developing, because when it comes to selecting the type of a strategy that you want to be exposed to, actually, let's be honest here. During a period where you have a high return on your USDE, which is the USD of Athena, their stablecoin, during a time where you actually have a high ROI on the API, it's actually the worst time to be in that type of a trade. You know why? Because that trade is actually the lowest risk trade you can be taking in that bullish market environment. However, with quants, what we really enable the investors to do is to basically select and actually actively reallocate their portfolio to the strategies that are most profitable during these times of high volume and high volatility. And if you look at Athena, they're using the funding rate ARB basis trade, which is a very very low risk strategy, right? However, with quants, you can actually actively rebalance into, let's say, our aggressive pool, and during this period, you get reallocated to strategies that are much better at capturing the upside while also minimizing the downside, right? So your risk appetite really determines which type of strategies the AI agent will be sort of reallocating into, and that is dependent on the risk profile that you select within our platform. We have three risk profiles. We have the conservative, which is the lowest one, balanced, the medium one, and of course the aggressive, the ones that I like the most personally. But of course, there's a different risk appetite for every type of a trader.
Yeah, I like you guys are offering some for everyone. I like the auto rebalancing. I like the fact that AI is basically doing everything for you. If AI is just giving you recommendations, you're still filtering that through your human sort of emotions. If AI is doing everything. I can sleep. I don't have to think about it. It's going to do probably a better job than I will. So that's why I really like how you guys are approaching the AI agent side. The token utility is solid, low FTVs at launch. You didn't mention centralized exchange. We'll get to that maybe another interview here. We are, by the way, fully invested into Quant, so full disclosure there. We have bags. We're going to continue to support and promote these guys on Crypto Paradise because we believe in this one. But do your own research, guys. Don't just take our word for it. Check out the platform. Check out the product. Join the Telegram. Ask the CEO, ask the CMO, ask the C-suite individuals questions that you may have, right? It's important for everyone to do their due diligence before making any kind of decisions around a particular project. So I want to thank you for your time. Any final words, guys, before we jump?
I got nothing really else. I would say check out their Twitter to get all the most updated information, or if you want to get involved with the token side of things pre-launch, now is the time to do it. You're running out of time. Like you said, they want to launch after the Chinese New Year, which I think is scheduled for January 29th. So it sounds like you guys will have probably a February or March launch. We'll see. And I'm excited to see what's in store ahead for this revolutionary deaf AI kind of project. This is kind of the sector and the narrative that is hot right now. I don't think AI and AI agents really slows down, just because in the real world, AI is just coming to the forefront of things, and usually crypto is piggybacking off of what traditional markets are liking.
Yeah, on the closing note from my end, the advancements in AI finally are enabling us as humans to really process thousands of data points in a given millisecond, right? So this is, I would say, really enabling a lot of the users to scale the amount of information and data that they can process just by using these AI agents on their behalf. Because previously, a trader who was just trading technical analysis wasn't given this sort of suite of products. But now with the introduction of AI, and especially these AI trading agents, and even to mention the AI quant bots that we are developing and bringing to the market, it's really changing the playing field here, which we are very excited about. Thank you guys for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here, as every time. I'm very excited to talk about our products.
Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you again soon, man. And until then, see you on the beach.